Good afternoon, Hattiesburg. Thanks for joining us for this COVID-19 and city news briefing for Friday, November 6th. Today's numbers, these are system-wide numbers for all of our health systems, Forest General, Merit Health Wesley, Hattiesburg Clinic, Semrai, and the Moffitt Health Center. As of this morning, 79,591 total tests have been conducted since this began in March. 8,603 of those have come back positive. 70,696 have come back negative. We have 292 tests currently pending. In the hospital today, between both our hospitals, we have 56 people who are COVID positive. That's 6 over where we've been for the last 14 days, with another 2 under investigation. And of those 56, we have 22 that are in the ICU right now. These are the most acute patients, and that's about almost 3 over where we've been for the last 2 weeks. One thing that we're starting to see is just ICU admissions are sort of slowly starting to creep up. Hospitalizations have kind of been between this 40 and 60 for the last several weeks. However, last weekend we hit 58. We've come down, and now we're going back up again. Today, statewide, we had 967 new cases with 14 new deaths, and unfortunately, one of those new deaths was reported in Forest County. We send our condolences to that family. To date, Forest County has seen 82 deaths in this pandemic. Lamar County has seen 41. New positive cases today in Forest County, there were 26. Lamar County saw 15, bringing the metro area total of 41. And since this began, Forest County's total infection rate, 3,256. Lamar County at 2,466. Our 5-day average, where we take the number of new positive cases on a given day and then average it with the 2 days prior and the 2 days after. Both Forest and Lamar County are getting closer. Lamar County is about 15. Forest County is a little bit higher. That was after a pretty good weekend, and so we'd like to see that trend go back down this weekend. The inside 14-day number, this is the number we really pay attention to because it gives us an idea of how many potentially active cases we have in our community. And so in Forest County right now, that number is at 249, and in Lamar County, that number is at 224. In the last day, Forest County has taken the lead over Lamar County in terms of those active cases. And when we look at the week-over-week comparison, last week Forest County on Friday was at 235. They're now at 249. Lamar County has dropped right at 25 down to 224. So a decrease overall of potential active cases, but still Forest County is starting to creep back up. Hospitalizations, of course, as I mentioned, we got up to 58 on Saturday, but we've come back down and then come back to 56. And so ICU admissions went over where it was last Friday. There's some concerns we have going into the weekend. First, we've had 3 straight days of high amounts of new cases. And I know we didn't do a briefing on Wednesday, but on Wednesday, Forest County had 16 new cases. Then yesterday we jumped to 34, and then, of course, 26 today. Lamar County on Wednesday had 26 new cases, 25 yesterday, and then 15 today, which brings over 3 days 142 new positive cases in our metro area, and that number can get away from us very quickly, particularly when we consider that in the last 14 days total, we were right at 470, a little bit more than that, and so to have 142 in 3 days is a bit concerning. We've also seen 7 straight days of hospitalizations over 50. That doesn't bode well for us if this starts to kind of creep up, particularly as cold weather hits and we're starting to see other reasons for hospitalizations, and so we would like to see both of those kind of trend downward. The other thing we're worried about is kind of what's going to be the full effect of Halloween. We know that people trick-or-treated, even though I think people mostly did it safely. We know there were some social gatherings on Halloween, and so sometimes people aren't as careful with masks. We also waited to see the full effects of Election Day, even though I know that in most every precinct that we witnessed, people were being very responsible wearing masks, and the poll workers were absolutely incredible. And so to see the full effects of both Halloween and Election Day, that might take us 7 to 10 days. And so we hope, however, that this last 3 days is kind of a quick aberration and we can start going back down again. If we can do a few things like social distancing and wearing masks and avoiding large crowds, we can accomplish the goals that we continue to push, protecting the vulnerable people over the age of 60, people with underlying chronic health conditions. These are the folks who are more likely to have an adverse reaction, end up in the hospital or the ICU or worse. Will also help us prevent overrun of the healthcare system. And we've had 3 or 4 really good months in terms of retail economic activity. If we can keep doing those common sense things, we can keep our economy humming along. Some city news for you today. On Wednesday, we swore in 5 new officers to our municipal court. We want to first thank Sally O'Flynn for her years of service, as well as Michael Schemper for his years of service in the prosecutor side of things. We were proud to elevate Anna Rush to the lead prosecutor role, as well as bring Steve Adamson and Elizabeth Porter on as assistant prosecutor and prosecutor pro tem. We also were proud to welcome DeCarlo Hood and Andrew Hatton as municipal public defenders who will assist in the caseload on that. But we have a municipal court that really our citizens can be proud of, and that we continue to improve by the month, and Judge Curry does a great job, and we're glad to welcome these 5 into the fold. On Wednesday, we were also excited to raise the state flag over City Hall, the newly approved state flag by the citizens of Mississippi. With a 70% margin of victory, we did raise that flag on Wednesday morning. A very historic day, as we remember, Hattiesburg was one of the first cities to stop flying the flag in 2015. And so to be on hand with our councilmen and our former mayor to raise that up is a very big step in history. Of course, this will not officially be the state flag until the legislature acknowledges the results of the election and, as required by law, designates this as the official state flag, which we know they will do. But once they do that, you'll see this flag flying all over the city of Hattiesburg. And finally, our act of courage. Today, we said our earthly farewells and laid to rest Mr. Frankie L. Benton Sr. Frankie Benton was known as the unofficial mayor of Palmer's Crossing, and he is someone who served in our military. He is someone who made history both as an entrepreneur and also as a citizen. He was one of the first registered voters, African-American voters, in Forest County. He was the first African-American to seek public office when he ran for constable in 1971. He formed the Concerned Citizens of Palmer's Crossing, and he did a lot in terms of advocating for new water lines and for the streets to be paved and for a new pavilion in Palmer's Crossing, which will now bear his name going forward. But he was also an encourager to so many of us. And I know that Ward 5 Councilman Nick Brown, Ward 1 Councilman Jeffrey George, and the other members of the City Council have leaned on him for encouragement at just the right time. And if there was one thing that I think is remarkable about Mr. Benton's life, is that he never stopped serving. He never went into retirement when it came to fulfilling his civic duty. And whether it was coming to neighborhood meetings or whether it was advocating for things, he took that on. Even at age 93, he was still active, still showing up, still speaking out. And we can learn a lot of lessons about that in terms of being a lifelong servant and good citizen in the community. So to the Benton family, we send our deepest condolences, and knowing that your father, your grandfather will never be forgotten in this community. As we go into the weekend, remember to wash your hands, take care of yourself, wear a mask if you go out in public, do only what is essential, and remember you are safer at home. Have a great weekend.